Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
The AFC East is just trying to play catch up with the Bills. The Patriots are ready for their new coaching staff with some old faces. Also, the Irish played hurt in the national title game, but that's going to be a constant in this new playoff frontier. And this head coaching hire feels different for the Chicago Bears. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
While teams around the league are scrambling to fill vacated head coaching jobs, the New England Patriots are building out a staff. They were early movers with Mike Vrabel, and Mike Vrabel is bringing an old friend back to New England. Josh McDaniels set to become Drake May's new offensive coordinator. Mike Debate from Locked On Patriots joins me now, and Mike, the Mike Vrabel part of this, not surprising. The Josh McDaniels part of this, not surprising. But what do you think in terms of the quality? Are the Patriots doing this the right way?
That's the million-dollar question right now in New England, Peter. And there are a lot of Patriots fans that'll tell you that a lot of fresh voices are what was needed in New England, that essentially they kind of needed to move on from the old guard, the old way of doing things. I happen to believe they are doing things the right way. A lot of people seem to think that Mike Vrabel is going to be an extension of the Bill Belichick coaching tree. Mike played for Bill up here for a number of years, but he's never coached under him. He's only coached against him. Mike's style is not going to be a like for like or a cookie cutter for what Bill Belichick gave you on the field. I do believe that in his year away from the head coaching position during the time he spent with Cleveland this year, Mike learned a little bit about the nuances of being a head coach. He missed it a little bit, but at the same time, I also believe that he learned a lot about his first tenure in Tennessee, maybe yielding to a staff around him that's going to be able to handle the load. The knock on Mike coming in was he's not going to surround himself with the coaches necessary to maybe challenge him a little bit or give him a little bit of guff back. I can tell you from personal experience, knowing Josh McDaniels the way I do, he's not going to be afraid to do that. He's going to come in and he's going to run this offense. And Josh is another one right now that a lot of people are wondering, has this game passed him by? That Earhart-Perkins system that he's a master at running, is it outdated? I do believe that Josh is innovative enough to realize that he does have to change a little bit with the modern NFL. And he's been spending a lot of time with college programs, even NFL programs that run a more modernized offense. So in that vein, I do believe that Mike Vrabel and Josh McDaniels are coming into New England as renewed coaches. And I believe they're going to have a renewed vigor to try to bring this team back to respectability.
I understand the criticism. It does seem to me, Mike, that the Crafts don't really know how much they want to close the door on Bill Belichick. They're just sort of like, well, some personal relationships may have soured here, but we think this all works. Like we won a lot of football games and we made a lot of money together. So, why rock the boat too much? But I think if this were not the Patriots, right? If this were Las Vegas, for example, and it was Mike Vrabel and Josh McDaniels, maybe the water's too muddied there with the McDaniels part of this, but I think we'd be going, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. It seems like the Patriots part of this is why you seem to, or at least fans seem to have some misgivings here.
Yeah, I think that's a valid concern, and I think it's a valid complaint. Look, bottom line, if the team struggles right out of the gate, you're going to hear a lot of these criticisms, and they're going to get loud, and they're going to get loud in a hurry. This team has been a subpar team now for a few years. Really, if you think about it, the Patriots have not even been close to being what the Patriots used to be since Tom Brady took his talents down to Tampa Bay. Had that 1 year where they did make the playoffs under Mac Jones. Coincidentally, who was running the offense that year? Josh McDaniels actually coached Mac to a Pro Bowl appearance. I know he backed into it, but it's still a Pro Bowl appearance. And he had his best year as a pro. So, yeah, these things are going to take a little bit of time to shake out. But again, the way the Patriots are structuring this coaching staff, they're going to have to come out and they're going to have to show immediate marked improvement very quickly, Otherwise, things could start to get ugly for the New England Patriots, the front office, and especially the ownership group.
The good part of this, if you're the Patriots, is you have plenty of resources at your disposal this offseason, a trove of money to spend in free agency, which, by the way, did not go great the last time that Bill Belichick did that. A top 5 pick that should have been higher. Mike, you were there. You witnessed all of that. But if you're just saying, hey, let me drop one player, whether it's from the draft or free agency, this is the guy that I think could really impact this team the most. Who would you have your eye on if you were the Patriots brass?
Well, I know a lot of my listeners are going to scream and throw things at me for not giving an offensive lineman, but I don't see that game-changing O-lineman right now that's out there that I'd mortgage the future for. The Patriots need help in that area, so you need to build a solid supporting cast. If I'm the Patriots right now, the guy that could change the complexity of that offense is T. Higgins, especially with Josh McDaniels coming back into the fold this year. You saw what this guy's capable of doing and scheming up when he has a receiver that's capable of stretching the field along with guys that can play very solid in the slot. It opens things up so much, and really what it could do for Drake May is light years above where he would be if he needed to kind of build this offense slowly. So you want a game changer. You want someone that's going to immediately move the needle. That's the guy. Can the Patriots throw enough cash at T? Because that's what it's going to take to land him. They don't have that pedigree anymore. Those banners are not that fresh in Foxborough. T's not going to care. He's going to want to be paid. That's what the Patriots are going to have to do if they want the needle mover. If they're not going in that direction, yeah, they got to start and they got to build that O-line, tackles, guards, backup center. They need a lot of work in that area. And they're also looking at a defense that needs a lot of upgrades too, Peter. Number 9 ranked in DVOA in 2023, fell all the way to 30th in 2024. For a team that is noted on its defense for Bill Belichick under all those years, and Mike Vrabel being a defensive guy, you know that doesn't sit well with Mike and the Patriots defensive brass.
You can stay up to date all year on the New England Patriots by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Patriots on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. You're Locked On Sports Today. Coming up, the Irish played hurt, but they won't be the only ones with these new playoff format. Before we get to that, New York has one professional basketball team and whatever the Nets are. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. That's $300 to keep the action going. The FanDuel app is easy to navigate, and the variety of bets keep every game exciting. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. No waiting around for your winnings. Whether you're betting on your favorite team or just looking to add some extra excitement to the playoffs, FanDuel has you covered. It's remarkable right now, both the NFC and AFC championship games have the same total. FanDuel has the over-under set at both 47.5 points. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thunder are running the West with no clear challenger yet, and it's telling that the two biggest stars in the game are nowhere near the conversation.
There's two noticeable things here in this conversation. We have a Laker guy with LeBron and Steph guy sitting here with the Warriors, and we're not even thinking about them as contenders. And the other one that's noticeable is that the Rockets and the Grizzlies are 2 and 3 in the West, and we're 7 minutes into this, and we haven't even bit that we think the Grizzlies or the Rockets are legit. Is there any the Rockets or Grizzlies are legit?
Houston, to me, they got to get someone that can make some shots, right? I mean, at a certain point, your toughness, your rebounding, your defense, it can only take you so far. They need to put the ball in the bucket. Memphis, they can score, no doubt about it. But when it comes down to it, how healthy are they going to become playoff time? To me, it's like Golden State, Los Angeles, they need to make some sort of a trade. At least Golden State does if they want to be in the mix for this thing. I do think they could sneak out a playoff series win if they can, get into that 6th seed. That would be ideal. But I look at the biggest contender to Oklahoma City is going to be the team that makes a move.
On the college hardwood, UConn ended up with a tough matchup at home against a Butler team that has not been very good this year.
Speaking of depressed Huskies, I am one myself after watching that display tonight in Hartford. I'm just going to go through a steady stream of thoughts and some notes I took during the game. I thought Terrace Reed was great to start this game through the first 10 minutes. I thought everyone was active defensively, locked in for the first 10, 15 minutes of the game. Thought Sampson started the game strong. A tough couple early minutes for Ahmad Noel. Relegates him to the bench for the rest of the game. You and I talked about it before the game during the preview pod, Mark. Hurley wanted to take Hassan Diarra. Does not want to play him 40 minutes a night. Hassan ends up playing 41 tonight out of necessity once again in a close game against a bottom-tier team in the conference. I don't think anyone coming into this game, the spread was 13.5 going into tip. I don't know if anyone thought after what we've been watching recently that UConn was really going to crush this team, but it was way too close. It's just throughout that second half, I was just kind of in a trance. I don't know. The game was just close the whole time. They weren't necessarily playing terrible, but they weren't playing good either.
And the 2025 class of the Baseball Hall of Fame has been announced. Ichiro Suzuki fell one vote shy of a unanimous selection as he became the first Japanese-born player to reach the Hall. He's joined by two pitchers, CC Sabathia and Billy Wagner. Sabathia had a 251 and 161 record with a 3.74 ERA. Was on the ballot for the first time. He got almost 87% of the vote. Meanwhile, Wagner was on his final ballot. Had he not earned the vote, he would not have been eligible to receive votes next year. Where Ichiro and Sabathia were on the ballot for just 1 year, Wagner was on it for 10. He's 8th on the all-time save list with 422. And what are we doing with the non-unanimous stuff? Come on, guys. This is foolish. Ichiro is a unanimous Hall of Famer. Notre Dame tried to come back in the national championship, but fell short. It's easy to point out injuries as a reason why the Irish lost, but as Locked On Irish squad hosts Joe George, Kenton Gibbs, and Brian Smith discussed, they won't be the only ones who can make that claim.
When Ohio State's pulling away from this thing and you're seeing, the running backs, whether it's, Henderson, Junkins, whoever, are not getting touched until they get to the linebackers, kind of performed with a lot of bad tackling, it looked like, in the first half, just a lot of missed tackles. It really did feel like the injuries are ultimately what cost the Irish in this game, which is unfortunate, but also I also think it's like part of our reality now. Don't you guys think that, like, with this expanded playoff, that it feels like every year there's going to be, major players missing with all these extra games these teams are going to be playing? And I feel like a lot of times, kind of looking into the future for Notre Dame and other teams, the injuries are going to be something that are going to be a huge storyline for a lot of the playoffs going forward.
Oh, absolutely. That's the logical conclusion of this thing. We know more plays, more games, more banging, more clanging, more wear and tear. That's ultimately always going to be a factor in this thing. Health. This is one of the last gladiator sports. Health is always going to be a very important factor in a gladiator sport. But again, I acknowledge more than anything else, when this game looked truly out of hand, when it got to 31-7, I said, oh, they're going to roll up. They're going to roll up. This game is over. But for them to still come back and still have a fight and still make this game respectable toward the end. And again, I know Irish fans don't want to hear this. I get it. Right? That Golden Dome, it doesn't say play like a runner-up today. That's not what the sign says, when they slap and go to it. It says play like a champion today. I get it. I'm not saying that Notre Dame fans don't have a right to be upset here. What I am going to say is this team put together a hell of a season. And like you said, at some point in time, you can say next man up all you want. But the difference between your first and your third guy exists for a reason. The difference between those things exists for a reason. And you can say all day and night, it was the scheme, it was the this, it was the that. Brian Smith is a guy that works in recruiting a lot. And you know what the saying is in recruiting, because it's a truism. It's not about your X's and your O's. It's about your what, Brian?
Jimmys and your Joes.
And when you got your first two Jimmys down and Joe is in the tent being evaluated and Riley's on the sideline throwing up, you're going to have a bad time.
Yeah. Go ahead, Brian.
Notre Dame had, 4 or 5 guys moved around on the offensive line, depending on the game throughout the year. And they played okay tonight. But, Jeremiah Love, they tried to say he was healthy before the game. I'm like, he's got an MCL or whatever that he's nervous. Get the heck out of here. There's no way he's going to be healthy in spring ball, let alone in the national title game. He'll get about 6 reps in spring. You know what I mean? Like, It just is what it is. You can't have your best players out all over the place. Benjamin Morrison out, etc., and they can just cost them. I thought that the actual game plan, just as an example from Al Golden, to Kenton's point, was what you had to do. And I know nobody wants to hear that. You were not running cover one against Ohio State if Ben played. Without him, you are definitely not running it. And then you got to give credit to Chip Kelly. They ran Howard and basically used him in the exact same manner that Notre Dame did with Riley Leonard. There is no way around it. You have an extra hat to block. It's just generic math. And he's a dude. He's 235, 240 pounds. He's not fun to tackle, and Notre Dame didn't have an answer for that. So they got run over without like Ken was talking about Michigan. Their game plan's better because they have two guys up front that Notre Dame doesn't have, like Girth, because Riley Mills isn't in there because of the injury. And Howard Cross, while he's good, he's banged up, and he's not a big guy for the position. He's a quick, just make guys miss. It's not the same. So Ohio State did a good job on those short yardage and killed Notre Dame in that.
You can stay up to date all year on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Irish on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, this hire feels different for the Bears. I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, comedy. Can't wait to take my kids to a Broadway show in New York, to comedy shows, to sporting events. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more near you. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. The Chicago Bears hired Ben Johnson, and while Locked On Bears host Lauren Cox can't guarantee it will work, he does see this as something different.
And I think we're all looking around today, pinching ourselves a little bit, and maybe in a little bit of disbelief that the Bears actually got their guy, got the top guy in the coaching search, because that's the first thing that feels distinctly different here than previous Bears head coaching searches. Ben Johnson is the candidate that seemingly every other team wanted, or at least most other teams wanted. The Las Vegas Raiders and Tom Brady were hot on Ben Johnson and trying to do everything in their power to bring him into the Sin City. The Jacksonville Jaguars were going hard after Ben Johnson and really wanted to pair him with Trevor Lawrence. I think some of the other teams in the head coaching search got the impression that they weren't as high on Ben Johnson's list, so maybe they kind of backed out a little bit. But you ask around the NFL and around fan bases, this was the consensus top guy. Most fans of most teams who have a head coaching opening wanted their team to hire Ben Johnson. And the Bears don't usually land that guy. When you think back to previous Bears head coaching searches, you can even just look right at Matt Eberflus or even, Mark Trestman and stuff before that. Like, the Bears hire a coach, usually it's a guy that, okay, he was a pretty good assistant coach or something, and there's a few things to like, and maybe he'll be a good coach. But, he's not like some out-of-this-world candidate. It's kind of a second or third choice type of vibe is usually what the Bears get. Not with Ben Johnson. They pulled him away from the Raiders. They pulled him away from the Jaguars. They got the coach that everybody else wanted.
This is different insofar as the Chicago Bears got the consensus choice for the best coaching opportunity, the best coach they could have signed. By consensus, anyway, they got. And this is the most ballyhooed quarterback they've drafted since Justin Fields, right? So I can't help but notice, from a Packers perspective, certainly, we've seen this before. Every year the Bears win the offseason cycle. They are declared the hot team. They declare themselves, Bears fans mostly, declare themselves going to the Super Bowl, and then they do what they did in 2024, and that's win 5 games, 6 games. And then they somehow get amnesia and do it all over again. We've seen this for years. They said, no, Justin Fields, just you got to change this, change the coach, change the coordinator. Just change this. Just change this. We're all set to go. Super Bowl bound. New kings in the north, baby. And then they win 7 games. And Justin Fields plays in Pittsburgh, but maybe won't do that again. And Matt Nagy's back in KC winning Super Bowls. Mitch Trubisky's, doing whatever. Mitch Trubisky might win a Super Bowl this year in Buffalo. So you'll forgive, especially those in Packerland, if it doesn't feel that different to them, because we see this every year, hear about it every year. This is different. Oh, no, this is different. This is the thing. One day it will be, but until we see it, it's just a movie we've already seen. This is a rerun. And finally, baseball card collecting can be quite the endeavor nowadays. There are multiple varieties of cards, autographs, relics galore, and they all have different colors, different graphics, different shines. It can make your head spin. But everyone can understand a one-of-a-kind card, like the one of Pirates rookie phenom Paul Skeens that was just pulled by an 11-year-old in Los Angeles. The name of the kid was not released. He's a minor. That's why it's obvious. But they have an opportunity. Forget what the cash value might be for a minute, which I'm guessing will be ridiculous. The Pittsburgh Pirates shared an offer on social media. If the kid trades them the card, the Pirates will give the kid 30 years worth of season tickets behind home plate, along with other team-related memorabilia. Of course, it is season tickets to the Pirates, so maybe a kid in LA doesn't really care. Let's see that cash offer. I want to know. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up on the next Locked On Sports Today, which new coach in the NFL has the best shot to turn his franchise around? So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
Go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.